This is the Experience Podcast, and I'm honored and privileged to be here in direct communication with you and to be literally sitting right next to my brother Dennis. And it's good to be here with you, Dennis. And
Likewise.
so it's a blessing to be here. It's a gift that I'm here in the present moment. That I'm here with both feet on a solid foundation. Literally with this gorgeous backdrop of greenery here. We're here in Costa Rica. Neal's my name. Neal's not who I am. Who I am is a multi-dimensional, infinite spiritual being that's expressing through a human body. And I'm also a coach, and I have one-on-one coaching, one-on-one life purpose coaching, one-on-one psychedelic integration coaching. I assist conscious people in their 20s and 30s exit the matrix and be with their soul family. So those are like three different areas that I coach in. So if any of those pertain to you, reach out. My information's in the description. My Snapchat's in the description. My email's in the description. Reach out. Send me a message. Send me what's going on, and we'll schedule a conversation and see what that grows into. And transformation occur in your life. So, welcome, Dennis. Introduce yourself, and we'll start here.
Yeah, I'm really grateful to be here. I just got done eating my first meal after a 5-day fast, just a small meal. So my mind is really empty at the moment, and I think it's going to tie into the topic that we're about to go into. So I just want to welcome you to this channel. If you're new here, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Share it with your family and friends. Also, I want to invite you to look at the description of this video because there's going to be a lot of links to other events that will have a transformational impact on your life. Neal has offers that he'll be speaking about, as well as myself. The one thing that I want to share right now is tomorrow night at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time, I co-host the Living Word Masterclass, and what I can promise you if you show up is miracles. Also, I do offer coaching, and I'm going to provide my Calendly link in the description as well. I do 30-minute segments, and what I can promise you in this time, if you fully show up and you have an area of your life that you want to break through in, I can promise you miracles. The one other thing that I'm going to want to say about events is right now my wife and I are doing a Proverbs 31 challenge every morning at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I will also put the link of that in the description, and that's every morning at 6:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Is that indefinite, or what's the time frame on the Proverbs challenge?
So it's called Proverbs 31 because it's actually 31 days, and it's just and if you want to be a part of that conversation, it's been absolutely amazing. I invite you to that. And so yeah, let's get into it. I feel very inspired about this conversation. And I'm going to actually go back and you bring in the topic because I don't remember exactly how you said it.
So, being grounded and having being grounded be a foundation of where to operate from. So, being grounded is it's something that we learn when we awaken. It's something that we're born with and we have a capacity for, but it's something that we grow into. Like for me, I used to think I was grounded, but until I met a grounded person, and then I was like, holy shit, I'm pretty fucking spacey. spacey being in the upper chakras, spacey being having racy thoughts, spacey being having communication that other people have a harder time to receive, because it is often super spiritual, because it is from communication. And so then the difference is going from that upper spacey over spiritual communication to actually communicating from your root, while maintaining that connection to the upper chakras, but actually being grounded in reality, actually being grounded in the truth, and having the truth and the like, for me personally, the commitment is the ground that I stand on, and my commitment is listening and speaking from God, which I hold synonymous with love. And so listening and speaking from love is a foundation, is something that I can ground into, that I can root into, and then operate from love.
I have a question.
And then this being the foundation of operation.
So
Yes, please.
with that commitment that you have, how important in this groundedness that you're speaking of, that you speak from, are and language? Actually, let me rephrase that.
Can you distill it? Can you distill the question further?
How important are words versus worlds? Like, distinguish words versus worlds, and how they tie into being grounded.
Yes, and worlds being what specifically?
So worlds in language.
Yes,
so basically, when I'm speaking, am I speaking in such a way that when other people hear me, they actually hear exactly the world that I'm speaking from, and they can relate in such a way that they know exactly where I'm standing in that moment?
Yes. So from an ungrounded space, the words, the worlds in language are, because they're ungrounded, they're inherently like, I could call them out of this world concepts, out of this world worlds in language. and then from a grounded space, the worlds in language can be communicated, and they can also be received. And so from this grounded space of actually having a commitment and actually operating from the commitment, it is from operating from that grounded space that it's easeful for people to receive. It's easeful for people to hear. And the worlds and language that are created from a grounded space, that are created from a commitment, those worlds and language are directly related to presence. So typically when we're not grounded, we're also not present, which is also why the thoughts are racy, because we're like either in the past, but usually it can be in the past, but typically how I've experienced it, as I was thinking about the future and then contemplating the future and like creating anxiety, and then communicating from anxiety and from the future, and then being unable to, so this is in the past, and then being unable to be heard because of communicating in the present about the future, but the future wasn't happening in the present. So then the person in the present, like, what the fuck are you even talking about? You're literally talking about the future, but we're here in the present moment. And so like the difference is like being the present moment, and then through being present, actually being grounded, actually being rooted. And so that world and language that I just communicated, it has been like literally, it's a journey that I've went through, and and this journey has been a learning process. Because like I said, like I literally used to think that I was grounded, and I thought other people were just retarded and they just weren't able to hear. But the thing was, is they were able to hear, and not only weren't they retarded, they were just where they were at, wherever they were. That's perfect. They don't need to change where they're at, but what needed to change was my mode of operandus of how I communicated, and have that communication come from a grounded space where I actually have a reason to speak, where I actually have a place that I'm speaking from, and where I actually see that once I'm done communicating, there's going to be a reason for what I communicated. And my point is, being grounded is like directly related to presence.
So how does one get present?
Well, we've done videos on this in the past. There's multiple ways here, but um, let me speak to typically why people aren't present. And usually it's because of trauma. When we experience like traumatic events in our life, um, or intense spiritual awakenings, which usually are linked to trauma, but not always. But like intense spiritual awakenings or traumas can have um, there not be in the moment, to not experience the traumatic thing that's happening. And so that's usually why people aren't present. And
I
so,
want to tie something in there.
yes, please.
So also one other thing that I just heard when you were sharing is when these traumatic experiences happen, at least for me, like when those moments happen, like, when I was 5 years old, let's just for example, when I was 5 years old, something happens, and from that moment of being 5 years old and this thing happening, I am now stuck throughout. I'm 36 now, and for 29 years, I look at the world from that traumatic experience that happened when I was 5 years old. So what I'm hearing, Neal, is that that's why a person is not able to be present. And also, I just want to throw this in here, is Neal and I are coaches in direct proportion to us assisting you with those experiences and moving past them to where you can actually be present.
And through them, and literally transcending them, and not from a place of theory, but from a place of actually having gone through it, from a place of actually having taken the steps of. And so this ungrounded space, for me, it was a combination of trauma and spiritual awakening. And spiritual awakening can be traumatic if we don't know how to handle it, which is often the case. So when we start to wake up, we're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, holy shit, like we're all connected, like
everything in my whole life has been a lie.
Right, like why do I even have a job? Like, and that can be super traumatic if you don't know how to navigate that. It's like what you thought you knew just ain't so. And so from that place, being present then is being in your body, because these spiritual awakenings, we can transcend the body occasionally, and this is what happened in my case. Like I literally had experiences where I was like outside of my physical body, and uh, and so being present is being grounded in the physical body. And so then the next question is, well, how do I ground into the physical body? Well, some ways to do that, for me, is exercise is monumental in this. To this day, exercise is the most grounding technique that I have in my tool belt, in my spiritual tool belt. Exercise is the thing that I utilize the most in being grounded, and I think it is the thing that literally works probably for 95% of people. I almost would go as far as to say 99% of people.
I have one equal to that.
And the uh, the type of exercise will vary person to person, but the general just moving your body, being in nature, there's this grounding quality that happens to that, and through moving your body, nurturing presence.
I was gonna offer up prayer. For me, I feel like one of the most grounding things is prayer and connecting to God and the Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ. Um, and also what you said, Neal, like I absolutely, yes. Um,
And then, in addition with moving your body, deep breathing, breath work can be super grounding. It can be ungrounding too, but slowing your breathing, really bringing consciousness to your breath, may be grounding. And in addition to that, dancing is grounding, which that relates to exercise, so moving your body.
Doing what you love to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can do what you love to do and be ungrounded. So
That's true. But it's a contributing factor, at least in my life.
And so another aspect to being grounded is to take off your shoes and put your feet on the earth, like literally feel the dirt on your feet, feel the grass on your feet. If it's concrete, literally feeling the concrete on your feet. Like, people think you need to be connected to earth to ground, but really, it definitely assists, but it's also in a large part sensation, feeling. So even feeling, for example, where are your feet right now? And then what are your feet feeling? Like my feet are in socks, and so I can feel like the material of the socks on my feet. Um, and I can feel my toes, and I can feel the material of the sock, and I can also focus conscious attention on my feet, and there's a grounding quality that comes along with this. And so these are just some aspects of ways of being grounded. And then being grounded is one thing, but then the next thing is, what are you going to do once you're grounded? Like, what are you going to use that for? See, we used being ungrounded for something, and what I used it for was not being heard, not being listened to. I used being ungrounded literally to be transcendent of the physical, uh, and so I used it for those things. So then once you're grounded, well, what are you using that for? What are you using being grounded for? And then for me, what I'm using being grounded for is to fulfill the commitment of listening and speaking to God. And the thing is now, is that because I've gone on the journey of being ungrounded and now being grounded, and now having capacity to operate in both realms, wherever I put my focus, I can communicate from there. And so, because of that, I can now, when God can now use Neal in an ungrounded state and have it be beneficial. But in the past, I didn't have the commitment that I have right now. And so when I was ungrounded, it was just being used to learn how to be grounded and how to be centered, how to be present. And now that I'm present and I actually have a commitment, it's from that commitment and it's from that presence that I have a firm foundation that no matter what comes at me, through me, it's that commitment is the foundation that I can stand on and operate from. And I now have that, and now I can operate from there, from here. And the moment I'm mostly present, I'm here now and also there then. Literally in the middle of this live stream, this YouTube just decides that it's wise to just like have the stream just pause. And who actually decided that? Was it Dennis's decision? Was it Neal's decision? Was it YouTube's decision? No, it was God's decision. God said, "Hey, there's actually there's a reason to pause right now. There's a reason to take a moment. There's a reason to what? Ground, to find your center, to be present, to be in the moment." And a theory that I have also is that, yeah, ultimately God orchestrated the whole thing, and AI has capacity to the point where when we're sharing from a because YouTube is literally operated by AI, they can just cut streams off mid-sentence, literally. And my theory is this is exactly what happened in this live stream. I don't know. This is my theory. And I'm here in the present moment. This stream is on. Here we are. And with being present, there's an element of being present that has what is being spoken to actually be heard. But in addition, that what is being heard usually is only heard when we're coming from a committed space. See, if we're coming from a space that isn't committed, if we're just speaking to speak, then that is when usually it isn't able to be received. But when there's actually a reason for communicating, and that communication is coming from a commitment and it's coming from a grounded place, then that communication can what? It can be received. It can be acknowledged. And it can be received and acknowledged because of the commitment that it's coming from. And so being grounded is so essential to having words be received. And like I said, now that I went from being ungrounded to being grounded, God can now use Neal in an ungrounded space and have it be beneficial. And there's times when that ungrounded space is actually what is the thing to be expressed in the moment. And I used to judge the shit out of it in the past. But even before I judged the shit out of it, I was in it not knowing that I was ungrounded. And then once I once I noticed that I can be grounded and express and have things be heard of what I'm speaking, once I actually became aware that that's possible, and here's how I became aware of it. I heard other grounded people. I literally heard other people talk, and they were listened to. People received what they were saying. And I'm like, how is this person being listened to? And when I'm sharing, and this is in the past, when I was sharing from an ungrounded space, I'm like, how is this grounded person being listened to? And when I'm speaking, I'm not being heard. And then I became aware of being ungrounded. And a large part of this awareness was through um, listening to like Victor Otto, who's a coach and a YouTuber, and an event facilitator who I've literally taken his courses, and Victor Otto speaks about many of the topics of spiritual awakening, of waking up, of realizing that there is actually something more than this material world, and that there's something beyond the programming that we've been programmed with, and that thing that's beyond the programming is actually the truth, and that the programming is just that. It's literally just programming. And so when I started listening and hearing grounded people communicate, and I started reflecting on how I was communicating and how I was being received, I started judging ungrounded people. I feel like I would hear people talk from their upper centers and be like, dang, like they're obviously not being listened to, they're obviously not being heard. But in reality, in judgment, in truth, there's no other. We're all one, we're all infinitely connected. And so when in judgment, well, we look and we see other and we judge other, but who are we really judging?
Yourself.
We're judging ourselves.
If you spot anything outside of yourself, you got it too.
Because
so just if you spot it, you got it.
Yes, because all that there is oneself. And so my point is being ungrounded, not knowing I was ungrounded, grounding, or not even grounding, but still being ungrounded. Excuse me. And then hearing other grounded people communicate, and then judging being ungrounded, because if you see it, you're being it. And I was being it. And then now being grounded, and now being able to be used by God to both be grounded and to be like super ungrounded, and fucking it's alright. But it's because I now have a foundation of a commitment of where I can operate from.
Another way that, and Neal has touched on this, but another way that you can tell if you're not grounded, and he spoke about it in the beginning of the video, is if you're living in the past or in the future. If you're in anxiety or depression, any of those two, you're not going to be grounded into the present moment. That's a measuring stick, a way that you can measure where you're at in a moment, in time, in the illusion of time. Because time's an illusion. And the clock is still ticking. You're welcome.
Yeah, and like people think being present is like there's not motion in that. Or I don't know, maybe people don't think this, but I used to think this. Like I used to think if I'm present, then I'm just like sitting still. Well, stillness is a lie. Actually, what is still? Nothing. Well, nothing doesn't exist.
Oh, when you say nothing, it's like no thing.
Exactly.
So no thing.
No thing is still. Because the only constant is change, and the thing that's in motion is the Holy Spirit. If there is a constant, it's God. And the Holy Spirit being a facet of God, and that's what I also see as being the fascia and the interconnected nature the love that flows through everything and connects all things. And I think this Holy Spirit is the infinite connection, is the oneness. And so my point is, when I'm present, I'm in motion, and I can be present in motion. And another lie that I've been told is that uh, that I literally just had it. I don't know where it went, but um, what's relevant now is right now, and and right now in this moment, I'm present. I'm here, and I'm for you watching this. I'm grateful for you because your time and attention has infinite value, and I am aware of this, but you might not be aware of this. I'm aware of this because I'm aware that my time and attention is infinitely valuable, because really, attention is the only thing that we have some capacity of directing and focusing, and where we focus is where energy flows, and how we use our energy determines how we navigate the illusion of time that we're currently in. And actually, time doesn't even exist, but we're trained, we're programmed to think that it does, and we use time so that we can focus, and we use time um, to contemplate the past and to schedule the future. And without time, what is there? There's now. And really, because time is an illusion, the only thing that there is now. And most of humanity right now is just programmed to think that operating in time is more beneficial than actually being present. And the real gift is being present and being now and communicating from now. And communicating from now isn't talking. It can be talking, but it doesn't need to be. Being now is just being here, and it's being grounded and centered. And uh, and in a way of being, for example, being compassion or being peace, that can be here now, and it's transcendent of words. And now I can use words to and have a way of being of peace be inside the words, but I don't need to